tactical surprise achieved by the Japanese forces on the day. This recreation is intended to honour all the brave military personnel who were involved: Army, Navy, Marines and Coast Guard. There will then be a fly past by the NAS Blue Angels, the Missing Man formation. Please stand now in preparation for the national anthem of the United States and the raising of the flag. I'd now like to call upon Admiral Trans Sands, representing the NAS. Admiral Trans.
Hello, players and audience. Welcome to Pearl Harbor Day. I shoot from the hip. December 7th, 1941 was a terrible day for the world, as you know. The Japanese attacked us at Pearl Harbor. The Navy had recently moved there, which proved to be a problem since Hawaii is closed off by a narrow entrance and easy to get caught as we did. We could not get out very quickly, so many lives were lost. We commemorate this today. Thank you, Commodore Olivieri, for your vision. This had afforded us a chance to work multiple groups together. They are the 2nd Life Coast Guard, the 7th Fleet, NAS, Blue Angels Combat. How wonderful this is. Instead of fighting, we are working together for a common goal. So, a terrible time in history has done something wonderful. Thank you, guys. You are what makes this happen. Be proud of yourself and your group. Remember December 7th, 1941. Thank you all and God bless. You are all our friends now.
Thank you, Admiral Sands. I'd next like to call on Admiral Stenvag, representing the 7th Fleet. Admiral Stenvag.
Before Pearl Harbor, the best we felt we could do was supply the British with materials. Then Japan entered the war. The U.S. had a 1911 treaty with Japan. We canceled it, then Japan conquered Indochina. The U.S. created economic sanctions against the Empire of Japan. This led to economic and military destabilization for them. Well, Japan had a vision. They wanted to expand. The linchpin to this expansion was the U.S. Pacific Navy fleet at Pearl Harbor. The Empire believed that by being bold and aggressive, they could demoralize the United States. In the early morning hours of December 7, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Over 2,400 American casualties occurred. We lost the Arizona. The Japanese expected the United States to negotiate with them. Instead, Japan woke up a sleeping giant. Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S. on the 11th. The U.S. Congress unanimously declared war on a vote of 399-0 against the Axis powers. American citizens volunteered by the thousands to enlist. Among those thousands were my dad and uncle. They joined the army. They were on Normandy Beach for D-Day. Pearl Harbor was a call to arms for the United States. You want a war? Fine. The United States of America will be there to answer call. We never forget Pearl Harbor. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, Admiral Stenberg. I'd now like to call upon Admiral Terry Munday, representing the United States Coast Guard in SL. Admiral.
Distinguished commandants, admirals, command staff, officers, fellow military personnel, and honored guests. Good morning. I am Rear Admiral Terry Munday. I am the SL Coast Guard HQ Area Commander. I am filling in for Admiral Coralie Fogarty, Commandant of the SL Coast Guard. She sends her apologies as her computer is not working well. I welcome you to the Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day ceremony. On the morning of December 7, 1941, at 7:48 a.m. local time, 177 aircraft of the Imperial Japanese Navy attacked the United States Naval Base at Pearl Harbor on the island of Oahu, Hawaii. Their intention was to destroy and damage as much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet as possible before it could respond to Japanese operations taking place on the same day against British, Dutch, and U.S. territories in Southeast Asia. This first attack wave began bombing the hangars and parked aircraft of the island's airfields while at the same time launching torpedoes against the U.S. warships moored in the harbor. In the first 5 minutes of the attack, 4 battleships were hit, including the USS Oklahoma and the USS Arizona. Minutes later, the Arizona exploded after a bomb hit its gunpowder stores, sinking the ship and killing 1,177 of its crew. This devastating attack was followed an hour later by a second wave of 163 Japanese aircraft. Within 2 hours, 21 U.S. warships had been sunk or damaged, 188 aircraft destroyed, and 2,403 American servicemen and women killed. Many of these ships were repaired and fought in later battles, and crucially, all 3 of the Pacific Fleet's aircraft carriers were not at Pearl Harbor during the attack, and so escaped damage. They were to prove vital in the coming Pacific campaign. Although the attack was a complete surprise, many American servicemen were able to fight back. Doris Dory Miller, a messman 3rd class, was on board the USS West Virginia when it was hit by torpedoes. He rushed to report for duty. Miller helped move the wounded captain to safety and then operated a Browning 50 caliber anti-aircraft machine gun, which he fired until out of ammunition. As the ship sank, Miller also helped move wounded sailors to the upper deck, saving countless lives. In May of the following year, he was awarded the Navy Cross, the Navy's 3rd highest award for gallantry. Some U.S. airmen were even able to get their aircraft into the sky while their runways were under attack. Second Lieutenants Kenneth M. Taylor and George Welch had been sleeping after a late-night Christmas party when they heard the sounds of explosions and machine gun fire. Still wearing their tuxedos from the night before, they raced to their waiting aircraft. Together, they shot down 7 Japanese aircraft and were both awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the 2nd highest award for gallantry in the U.S. Army Air Corps at the time. Before the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States had been supporting Allied forces with weapons and supplies under the Lend-Lease Agreement, but many in the country were reluctant to enter the war. The day after the attack, President Franklin D. Roosevelt delivered a speech to the United States Congress urging for a formal declaration of war against Japan. War was declared an hour later, bringing the United States into the Second World War and unifying the country behind the war effort. Today, we are here to remember this day by presenting a reenactment of that fateful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Admiral. Monday, next in our ceremony is a time to pause and to reflect on all those of us who may have lost our relatives or know of someone who has during World War II and following the attack on Pearl Harbor. Could you all please stand now as the bugler plays taps? Could you please now remain standing until the sounding of Reveille? We hear now from the Naval Choir with Eternal Father, the Navy hymn. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention and your reflection. That concludes the ceremonial part of the remembrance today. The next section will be a demonstration put together by the various teams of the difficulties of the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor.
Welcome to the reenactment of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. This happens with the help of the Blue Angels Combat, the U.S. Navy 7th Fleet, the 2nd Life Coast Guard, the Naval Air Station World War II Group, and the Naval Air Station Blue Angels, and many individuals.
Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, of the House of Representatives, yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
And it is a sleepy Sunday morning on December 7th in 1941 at the Pearl Harbor base at Oahu, Hawaii. Servicemen are out and about. Some are working on vehicles. Some are simply loitering. There were indications on the Japanese side leading up to Pearl Harbor. Number one, there was expansion in Asia. Japan invaded several countries in the 30s in an attempt to solve its economic and demographic problems through territorial expansion. Number 2, it aligned with the Axis powers. Number 3, it occupied French Indochina. 4, there was intelligence gathering throughout 1941. They gathered detailed information on ship locations and defense preparations at Pearl Harbor through their consulate in Hawaii. Number 5, failed diplomacy. Japanese diplomats were sent to Washington to negotiate a solution, but were unwilling to withdraw their troops from China, an American demand, leading to a standstill in talks. Number 6, fleet deployment. The main Japanese strike force began its transit to Hawaii on November 26, 1941, maintaining strict radio silence. And 7, final approval. On December 1st, 1941, Emperor Hirohito approved the final plan for war against the U.S., Britain, and the Netherlands if negotiations failed. Which leads us to our early morning warnings and the overlooks. The timeline of that morning began at 3:42 a.m. when the USS Condor spots a Japanese midget submarine and alerts the USS Ward. At 6:10, the first wave of Japanese planes launched from their carriers. At 6:45, the U.S. Ward attacks and sinks the submarine and reports it. At 6:53, the report is dismissed as an isolated incident. At 7:02, a U.S. Army radar station detects a large group of approaching aircraft. At 7:20, they ignore the radar report, calling it US B-17 bombers. The Japanese flew either the Zero or the Nakajima B-5N. The B-5N was the standard carrier-based torpedo bomber of the Imperial Japanese Navy for much of World War II. It also served as a high-level bomber. The Mitsubishi A6M0 is a long-range carrier-capable fighter aircraft that was manufactured by Mitsubishi from 1940 through 45. The Zero is considered to have been the most capable carrier-based fighter in the world when it was introduced early in World War II, combining excellent maneuverability, high airspeed, strong firepower, and very long range. And this brings us to 7:40 on that morning when the Japanese aircraft reached Oahu. 7:40, the air attack commander signals Tora, 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 confirming surprise, and at 7:55, the main assault on Pearl Harbor begins, targeting airfields and ships. Within a few hours, several warships were sunk or damaged, including the battleships USS Arizona and USS Oklahoma. In all, a total of 8 battleships were sunk or heavily damaged. 3 cruisers and 4 destroyers were sunk or damaged. 188 aircraft were lost also. We are under attack. We are under attack. Man your AA batteries and fire at will. There were, at the time of the attack, approximately 43,000 military personnel stationed at the base. Of that number, 2,460 military personnel and civilians were killed, and 1,178 people were wounded. This was a case of America surviving during impossible conditions.